The forbidden chair, the quantum scanner's alarm cut through the bridge like a knife through silence. Captain Alina Vasquez looked up from her morning coffee. The bitter taste suddenly forgotten as red lights bathed the command deck of the research vessel Meridian. 3 weeks into what should have been a routine deep space survey mission, this was the first time the advanced scanning equipment had detected anything more interesting than cosmic dust. "Report, Lieutenant Chen," Alina commanded, sitting down, her mug and moving to the central command station. Her boots made soft thuds against the metal deck plates as she crossed the bridge, her dark hair catching the emergency lighting. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, the ship's science officer, hunched over his console with the intensity of a man who had just discovered gold. His fingers danced across the holographic displays, pulling up readings that made his eyes widen behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Captain, you need to see this. We're picking up an artificial structure approximately 40,000 kilometers off our starboard bow. The composition readings are unlike anything in our databases." Alina frowned as she studied the scanner display. The object appeared as a twisted mass of metal and energy signatures that pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm. It was roughly the size of a city block, but its design defied conventional understanding of spacecraft construction. Geometric patterns spiraled across its hull in ways that hurt to look at directly, as if the very structure challenged human perception. "Any signs of life aboard?" Alina asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "Negative life. Signs, Captain. But there's something else. The power readings are off the charts. Whatever this thing is, it's been running on some kind of energy source for what our analysis suggests could be thousands of years, maybe longer." Alina felt her pulse quicken. In her 15 years with the Deep Space Research Division, she had encountered plenty of mysteries, but nothing that had made her hands shake with excitement the way this discovery did. The standing orders for encounters with unknown alien technology were clear: observe, record, and report back to Earth Command for further instructions. Do not board, do not interact, do not take unnecessary risks. But as Alina stared at the readings, she knew those orders had been written by people who had never stood on the bridge of a ship 40 light-years from home, staring at the greatest discovery in human history. "Commander Torres, bring us to within 5 kilometers of the object," Alina ordered. Her first officer, a steady woman with silver hair and calm eyes, nodded and began issuing helm commands. "Captain," Chen interrupted, his voice tight with concern, "I'm detecting something else. The object is scanning us. Whatever's on board that ship is very much aware of our presence." Elena's training told her to retreat immediately and call for backup. Her curiosity told her something entirely different. She watched as the alien vessel grew larger on the main view screen, its strange architecture becoming more detailed and somehow more impossible with each passing moment. Sections of the hull seemed to phase in and out of normal space, while other areas pulsed with colors that had no names in human language. "Any attempt at communication?" Alina asked. "I've tried. Standard first contact protocols, but there's no response on any frequency," Chen replied. "However, the scanning pattern from the object has changed. It's focused specifically on you, Captain." Alina felt a chill run down her spine. "On me specifically? How can you tell? The scan is somehow isolating your biosignature from the rest of the crew. I've never seen anything like it in 15 years of Xeno." Commander Torres stepped closer to Alina, concern evident in her weathered features. "Captain, perhaps we should maintain our distance and await instructions from No," Alina said firmly. "We're the only Earth vessel within 50 light-years. If we don't investigate this now, it could be years before another opportunity arises. Prepare an away team. I'm going aboard. Captain, respectfully, that's extremely inadvisable, Torres protested. We have no idea what kind of atmosphere, if any, exists on that vessel. The radiation levels alone could be lethal. Alina was already moving toward the equipment lockers. Then we'll go in full environmental suits with radiation shielding. Lieutenant Chen, you're with me. Commander Torres, you have the bridge. 20 minutes later, Alina found herself floating in the cargo bay of the Meridian, checking her suit systems one final time. The environmental suit was state-of-the-art, capable of protecting her from virtually any hostile environment for up to 6 hours. The helmet display showed all systems green, and the backup oxygen supply was fully charged. Shuttle bay to bridge, Alina spoke into her comm system. Away team ready for departure. Acknowledged, Captain, Torres replied, though Alina could hear the disapproval in her voice. Please be careful over there. The shuttle ride to the alien vessel took only a few minutes, but Alina felt as if she were traveling across centuries. The closer they got to the strange ship, the more impossible it appeared. Sections of the hull seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating optical illusions that made her eyes water. Other areas appeared to be constructed from materials that shifted between liquid and solid states. Captain Chen's voice crackled through the comm system from the pilot's seat. I'm detecting what appears to be a docking port on the vessel's port side. The design is completely alien, but our magnetic clamps should be able to establish a seal. Alina nodded, though her attention was focused on the hull of the ship sliding past the shuttle's viewport. Up close, she could see that what had appeared to be decorative patterns from a distance were actually intricate technological systems of unimaginable complexity. Lights pulsed through crystalline conduits in rhythm with the ship's energy signatures, creating a hypnotic display that seemed almost alive. The docking procedure went more smoothly than Alina had expected. The alien ship's airlock, if that's what it was, adapted itself to accommodate their shuttle with fluid precision. The magnetic seals engaged with a satisfying thunk, and the atmospheric readings showed that the alien vessel was maintaining an environment surprisingly similar to Earth normal. Oxygen-nitrogen mix, standard pressure, temperature at 22 degrees Celsius, Chen reported, consulting his instruments. It's almost as if the ship is adapting to our needs. Alina activated her suit's external cameras and stepped through. The airlock, the interior of the alien vessel, defied every expectation she had formed during the approach. Instead of the cold, sterile corridors she had imagined, she found herself in a space that seemed to breathe with warmth and life. The walls curved organically, covered in what appeared to be living metal that pulsed with soft, bioluminescent patterns. Chen, are you recording this? Alina asked, slowly moving forward through a corridor that seemed to stretch infinitely in both directions. Every second, Captain. The materials here are beyond our current understanding of physics. These walls appear to be simultaneously organic and technological, somehow existing in perfect harmony. As they moved deeper into the vessel, Alina began to notice that the ship was guiding them. Passages that had been dark moments before would illuminate as they approached, while other routes would subtly dim, encouraging them to continue in a specific direction. It was as if the ship itself wanted them to find something. The corridor eventually opened into a vast chamber that took Elena's breath away. The ceiling soared hundreds of meters overhead, supported by graceful arches that seemed to be grown rather than built. In the center of the space sat a single chair, or at least something that might serve as a chair for a humanoid species, was constructed from the same living metal as the walls, but it pulsed with a deeper, more complex pattern of lights. "Chen, look at this," Alina whispered, approaching the chair cautiously. "The design is almost perfectly suited for human proportions." Chen was busy taking readings with every instrument in his kit. "Captain, the energy signatures from that chair are incredible. It's some kind of interface, possibly neural, and the power source is directly connected to the ship's main systems." Alina felt drawn to the chair in a way that defied logical explanation. Every instinct she had developed during her career told her to be cautious, to study the object from a safe distance before attempting any interaction. But something deeper, something that spoke to her humanity itself, urged her forward. "Captain, I'm detecting a presence in this room," Chen said suddenly, his voice tight with tension. "Something is trying to communicate." Alina froze. "What kind of presence?" "I'm not sure. The readings are unlike anything I've seen before. It's not biological, but it's definitely intelligent. And it's focused on you, just like the scans from outside the ship." Alina looked around the chamber, seeing nothing but the pulsing walls and the mysterious chair. But she could feel it now, a consciousness pressing at the edges of her awareness. It wasn't hostile or threatening. If anything, it felt desperate, as if it had been waiting for someone like her for a very long time. "Hello," Alina called out, feeling somewhat foolish for speaking to empty air. "Can you understand me?" The response was immediate and overwhelming. The walls of the chamber suddenly blazed with patterns of light so complex and beautiful that Alina had to close her eyes. When she opened them again, symbols were forming in the air around the chair. They were not human symbols, but somehow Alina found she could understand their meaning. "Welcome, daughter of Earth. I have waited so long for one of your kind to return." Elena's heart pounded in her chest. "Return? What do you mean, return?" The symbol shifted and changed, telling a story that made Elena's mind reel. Images formed in the air, showing humans among the stars, not the careful explorers of Elena's time, but bold colonists spreading across the galaxy. Then came images of war, separation, and loss. Worlds cut off from each other by vast distances and hostile forces. "I am the Guardian. I was created by your people 500 years ago to preserve what was precious and to wait for the day when the scattered children of Earth would reunite. You are the first to find me in centuries. Will you take the seat that was built for your kind? Will you help me complete my mission?" Alina stared at the chair, understanding now why its proportions were so perfectly human. It had been built by humans, for humans, in an age when humanity had spread further across the stars than she had ever imagined possible. The forbidden seat that no one was supposed to use had been waiting for exactly this moment. "Chun, she said quietly, "I think we're about to make the most important discovery in human history." "Captain, what are you planning?" Alina moved toward the chair, drawn by a destiny she was only beginning to understand. "I'm going to take a seat and see what our ancestors wanted us to find." The ancient Alliance Alina settled into the chair, and immediately the universe exploded around her in ways that human language could never adequately describe. The moment her body made contact with the living metal, her consciousness was pulled into a vast network of information that spanned centuries and light years. She was still aware of her physical body, still conscious of Chen's worried voice calling her name, but her mind was suddenly connected to something infinitely larger than herself. The Guardian's presence filled her thoughts, but it was no longer the desperate, searching consciousness she had sensed before. Now it felt complete, fulfilled, as if the missing piece of an ancient puzzle had finally fallen into place. Through the neural interface, Alina could sense the vast intelligence that had been waiting in solitude for 500 years, maintaining its vigil across the empty spaces between stars. "Welcome, Alina Vasquez." The Guardian spoke directly into her mind, somehow knowing her name without being told. "I have access to your memories now, to your knowledge of what Earth has become. Your people have forgotten so much, but they have also grown in ways that fill me with hope." Alina tried to speak and found that she could communicate simply by thinking her words clearly. "What happened to the humans who built you? The images you showed me suggest that our expansion into space was far more extensive than our current records indicate." The response came not in words, but in a flood of memories and data that made Alina gasp with its intensity. She saw humanity as it had been 5 centuries ago, spread across dozens of star systems in a loose confederation of worlds. They had been bold, ambitious, and perhaps a bit reckless in their eagerness to claim their place among the stars. The technology that had made such rapid expansion possible was beyond anything Elena's generation possessed. Yet the humans who had created it were recognizably her own species. They were explorers like you, the Guardian explained as the images shifted to show scientists and adventurers pushing ever further into unknown regions of space. But expansion without caution brings dangers. Your ancestors encountered forces in deep space that they were not prepared to face. Alina saw flashes of the war that had shattered humanity's first stellar empire. The enemy was unlike anything in current xenological databases, beings of pure energy that existed in the spaces between dimensions. They had seen humanity's rapid expansion as a threat to their own mysterious purposes and had struck with devastating effectiveness, not to destroy, but to isolate, cutting the connections between human worlds and leaving each colony to survive or perish on its own dot. Earth survived because it was the strongest and most defended of the human worlds, the Guardian continued. But dozens of other colonies were cut off, their locations lost when the communication networks were destroyed. For 5 centuries, these scattered settlements have been developing in isolation, many believing that Earth itself was destroyed in the war. Alina felt tears running down her cheeks inside her helmet as she absorbed the magnitude of what the Guardian was showing her. Millions of humans living on distant worlds, believing themselves to be the last survivors of their species, while Earth had rebuilt and advanced without any knowledge of their existence. Your mission, Alina thought, was to preserve the locations of these lost colonies. More than that, the Guardian replied, and suddenly Elena's mind was filled with vast databases of information. Star charts showing the locations of 37 surviving human settlements, detailed records of their cultures, their technologies, their struggles and triumphs across 5 centuries of isolation. Most importantly, she saw the Guardian's own scattered network, dozens of similar vessels hidden throughout the galaxy, each one maintaining its own vigil and waiting for the day when humanity would be ready to reunite. Each Guardian was given a specific mission, the artificial consciousness explained. Some were tasked with preserving technology, others with maintaining historical records. My purpose was to wait for the day when Earth's children were strong enough to venture forth again and find their lost family. Elena's mind reeled as she processed the implications. Through the chair's interface, she could access detailed information about each of the surviving colonies. New Geneva, A world of scientists who had developed medical technology centuries ahead of anything Earth possessed. Prometheus Station, where descendants of miners had built vast underground cities and mastered fusion power in ways Elena's people could barely imagine. Terra Nova, an agricultural world where humans had learned to work in perfect harmony with an alien ecosystem. Why now? Elena asked. Why reveal this information to me specifically? The Guardian's response carried a note of urgency that made Elena's blood run cold. Because the ancient enemy has awakened. My sensors have detected their energy signatures moving through this sector of space. They are searching, just as they did 500 years ago, seeking to eliminate any threat to their dominion. The scattered human colonies are in danger, and Earth itself may once again face destruction. Elena started to rise from the chair, her instincts telling her to return to the Meridian immediately and report this information to Earth Command. But the Guardian's presence held her gently in place. There is more you must understand, it said. The enemy is not approaching randomly. They have detected the activation of this Guardian network. By coming here, by connecting with me, you have announced humanity's presence in a way that cannot be undone. The ancient war is about to begin again. Elena felt a chill of fear mixed with determination. How long do we have? Days, perhaps weeks, but you have advantages that your ancestors did not possess. The colonies have had 5 centuries to develop their own technologies and defenses. Earth has grown stronger, and there are the Guardians themselves. Elena sensed the Guardians' meaning even before it was explained. You're not just repositories of information. You're weapons, we are tools. The Guardian corrected gently, but in the right hands, we can serve as weapons, shields, or bridges between the stars. Each Guardian was built with adaptive technology that can interface with human consciousness and amplify human capabilities in ways that your ancestors could only dream of. Elena looked down at her hands, still resting on the arms of the chair, and saw that they were beginning to glow with the same bioluminescent patterns that covered the ship's walls. The neural interface was changing her, connecting her to systems and databases that spanned the galaxy. She could feel the Guardian's sensors extending her awareness across light years of space, showing her the movements of enemy forces and the locations of other Guardian vessels. Lieutenant Chen, she called out loud, finally remembering her companion who had been trying unsuccessfully to get her attention for several minutes. Are you still there? Captain, thank goodness. Chen's voice came through her helmet's communication. System, you've been unresponsive for nearly an hour. Your vital signs were stable, but I was beginning to worry that the interface was harming you somehow. Elena slowly opened her eyes and saw Chen standing a safe distance away, his instrument readings painting the air around him with holographic displays. To her enhanced perception, she could see not just the visible light spectrum, but energy patterns. That revealed the true complexity of the Guardianship's systems. I'm fine, Chen. Better than fine, actually. But we need to get back to the Meridian immediately. We have a message to send to Earth that's going to change everything. As Elena carefully disconnected from the chair, the Guardian's presence remained. With her, a constant background awareness that she suspected would never entirely fade. She had been changed by the encounter in ways that she was only beginning to understand, but she felt no fear about the transformation. Instead, she felt a profound sense of purpose that she had never experienced before. Chen, how long would it take to send a priority message to Earth Command using our quantum communicator? About 18 hours, Captain, assuming atmospheric conditions remain stable. But Captain, what exactly are we going to tell them? Alina paused at the entrance to the airlock, looking back at the chamber where she had discovered humanity's greatest secret. The chair continued to pulse with its gentle light, waiting for the next human who might need its knowledge and power. "We're going to tell them that they need to prepare for war," Alina said simply, "and that they're not fighting it alone." The journey back to the Meridian passed in a blur of activity as Elena's enhanced awareness processed tactical information from the Guardian network. She could sense other Guardian vessels awakening across the galaxy, responding to her connection. As their long-dormant systems came online, some were attached to human colonies that had never forgotten their origins, while others drifted alone in deep space, still waiting for their own moment of discovery. "Commander Torres," Alina called as she stepped onto the Meridian's bridge, her environmental suit still gleaming with traces of the Guardian's bioluminescent patterns. "Prepare a full briefing packet for Earth Command. Priority Alpha classification." Torres looked up from her command station, her experienced eyes taking in Elena's transformed appearance without comment. "What are we telling them, Captain?" Alina moved to the central command station and began calling up star charts that she had never seen before but somehow knew intimately. The Guardian's knowledge flowed through her enhanced consciousness, showing her the positions of enemy forces, the locations of lost human colonies, and the strategic opportunities that lay ahead. "We're telling them that the age of human isolation is over," Alina said as she began composing the most important message in human history. "It's time to bring our people home." As the Meridian's quantum communicator began transmitting Elena's report across the void to Earth, other Guardian vessels throughout the galaxy were receiving the same signal. On 37 different worlds, humans who had believed themselves alone in the universe were about to discover that their long exile was finally coming to an end. Alina stood on the bridge of her ship, no longer just a deep space explorer, but the first ambassador of a reunited humanity. The war that was coming would test every human settlement and every Guardian vessel, but for the first time in 5 centuries, humanity would face it together. The forbidden seat had been empty for so long because it was waiting for this moment, when one human's curiosity would awaken the network that would reunite the children of Earth. Alina Vasquez had taken that seat, and in doing so, had changed the course of human history forever. The real adventure was just beginning.